When my fiancé joked I should date her sister because you're both so boring together, I took her advice literally, called her sister, told her everything, and a month later we announced our relationship at family brunch while she watched in shock. I was standing in the kitchen of my would-be in-laws' house in Raleigh, North Carolina, holding a dripping wine glass when my fiancé, now ex-fiancé, Harper Dalton, 28, smiled at me like she was dropping some cute little joke instead of blowing up 4 years of my life. "Evan, you should date my sister Brooke instead," she said, rinsing mashed potatoes off a plate. "Seriously, you two are perfect for each other. You're both boring as hell." At first I thought I misheard her. There was nothing in her voice that hinted she was kidding. It was light, casual, almost bored, like she was commenting on the weather. "What?" I asked. I wasn't angry yet, just confused. "You and Brooke," she said again, shrugging. "You both drink black coffee. You both read sad books. You're both asleep by 9. I mean, honestly, why are you even with me? I need someone who lives a little." The plate slipped in my hands, clattering against the sink. My chest went hot and cold all at once. We were 8 months from our wedding. Venue booked, $9,000 deposit paid. Cake tasting scheduled. Engagement photos already framed on her parents' hallway wall. And here she was casually suggesting I'd be better off with her own sister. "You're not breaking up with me, right? For God's sake, Evan, no," she snapped. "You're so dramatic. I'm just being honest. Objectively, you and Brooke make more sense. It's funny if you think about it." I didn't laugh. I didn't even blink. I just stood there until the silence got uncomfortable. Harper went back to humming and scrubbing the pot roast pan, like nothing had happened. The room felt like it was shrinking around me, like a pressure chamber. My ears were ringing. I should have confronted her. I should have asked if she meant it. But something in her tone, light, airy, dismissive, made something snap in me. Not anger. Not yet. Clarity. We drove home in silence. She scrolled TikTok the entire way, laughing at videos, not noticing I didn't speak once. She kissed my cheek before bed like everything was normal, then rolled over and started snoring. I lay awake until 3 a.m., staring at the crack in the ceiling, replaying her words on a loop. "You're both boring. Why are you even with me? You and Brooke make more sense." And then the thought hit me like a punch. She didn't slip up. She revealed something she'd been thinking for a long time. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I grabbed my phone, opened Brooke's contact, and typed, "Hey, can we talk this week? I need to tell you something," Harper said. Brooke answered in 2 minutes. "Sure. Are you okay?" I didn't answer that. I didn't know. The next afternoon at a cafe downtown, I watched Brooke's face crumble as I repeated Harper's words. She went pale, then red, then looked like she might cry. "Evan," she whispered, That's not a joke. Not from her." There was something in her voice, something tight and fragile, that told me Harper hadn't just humiliated me. She'd done this to Brooke for years. We talked for almost 3 hours. And when I left that cafe, I felt something I hadn't expected. Seen, heard, understood. And for the first time since the dishwasher moment, I felt a spark of anger. Something hot, alive, something that wouldn't stay buried. Because Harper hadn't just insulted me. She'd accidentally opened a door she didn't even know existed. That night, I walked into our apartment, ready to confront Harper, ready to talk, ready to figure out what the hell our future looked like. But she wasn't home. Her phone was on the counter. Her engagement ring was gone. And there was a smell on her coat. Cologne. That definitely wasn't mine. People always say you don't notice the cracks in a relationship until everything caves in. But now, looking back, the cracks between Harper and me were there on day one. I just didn't know what I was looking at. I met Harper at a bar in Chapel Hill 4 years ago. She was loud, magnetic, the type of person who could walk into any room and instantly become the most interesting thing in it. She wore this red leather jacket and laughed like she didn't care who was watching. I was not that. I was the quiet guy at the end of the bar reading an article on my phone about submarine wrecks. She bumped into me reaching for a drink and said something like, "Wow, You look like you think about spreadsheets for fun. Most people would have been turned off. She wasn't. She loved saying she collected introverts. Back then, that sounded flattering instead of condescending. We moved fast. Within a month, she introduced me to her parents, Charles and Marlene Dalton, upper middle class, country club types who pretended to be warm but were always scanning for weaknesses. Harper's dad liked me instantly. Steady, he called me. Predictable. He thought that was the highest compliment in the world. Marlene liked me too, but only as an accessory to Harper. Someone supportive. Someone quiet. Someone who made Harper shine brighter. Then there was Brooke, Harper's younger sister by 2 years. She was nothing like Harper. Soft-spoken, observant, the kind of person who'd listen so closely you felt compelled to fill the silence with honesty. She was the first person in that family who made me feel like more than background noise. At first, Harper seemed to love that her boyfriend and sister got along. "See," she'd say, "I'm a unifying force." But every now and then, when Brooke and I talked too long about books or documentaries or anything that wasn't her, Harper's smile would tighten. Her shoulders would stiffen. Her voice would go flat. But she'd brush it off with a kiss and something flirty, and I'd forget it. We moved in together after 10 months. That's when the jokes started. "You're so boring," she'd say when I spent Saturday doing meal prep. "You're like 80 years old." She'd laugh when I turned down a 1 a.m. bar crawl. "God, you're serious." She'd roll her eyes when I asked her to stop belittling me in front of friends. But then she'd kiss my cheek and say, "Relax, babe. You know I love you." And I'd swallow it because I believed her. The proposal happened 2 years in. She said yes through tears, clutching the ring, and for a moment I thought, this is it. We're finally turning into something stable. Something deeper than parties and jokes and snide comments she insisted were harmless. The months after the engagement were strange. She got restless, irritable. She said wedding planning was suffocating. She blamed work, friends, her parents, me, anyone, anything. But she wouldn't call off the wedding. She wanted the attention, the celebration, the photos. She liked the idea of being a bride. She just didn't seem to like the idea of being my bride. And then there was Brooke. Every time she and I talked at family dinners, I'd notice the smallest flicker in her expression, like she wanted to say something but couldn't. I wrote it off as sibling tension. Everyone has complicated family dynamics, but there was a heaviness to hers. A well of something unspoken. After the dishwasher incident, that heaviness finally made sense. Harper had spent years positioning herself as the fun one, the exciting one, the one who deserved attention simply for existing. And she needed Brooke to be the opposite. The quiet shadow, the supporting character. She needed me to be that too. Harper couldn't stand the idea of two people she'd labeled boring, finding comfort in each other, even in conversation. What I didn't know yet, what I couldn't possibly have known, was that her comment in the kitchen wasn't random. It wasn't careless. It was intentional, calculated, a test I wasn't meant to pass. And the night I smelled that unfamiliar cologne on her coat, that wasn't random either. That was the first sign that Harper had been building her own exit long before I ever considered mine. The night I found Harper's coat smelling like cologne that wasn't mine, something inside me just went still. Not angry, not jealous, just quiet in the kind of way that meant I already knew the truth, even if I didn't want to look at it directly yet. Harper came home an hour later, cheeks flushed, hair perfect, acting like nothing was off. She threw her purse on the couch, kicked off her heels, and asked if I wanted to order Thai. I stood in the hallway holding the coat like a piece of evidence from a crime scene. "Long night?" I asked. She shrugged. "Girls' night. We went dancing." I lifted the coat slightly. "Anyone I know wear men's cologne now?" She didn't miss a beat. "Probably the Uber driver. Can you not be weird right now?" God. I didn't argue. I didn't push. I just hung the coat up calmly because I realized if she was lying, really lying, it meant she thought she could. It meant she'd gotten away with it before. From that point on, everything sharpened. I started noticing things. The late nights. The makeup she never wore for me. The laughter she saved for her phone instead of the room we shared. She'd put her phone face down whenever I walked into the room. She'd get defensive over nothing. She'd act irritated just by me existing in the same space. Once, I tried to kiss her goodbye before work and she angled her head away so I caught her cheek instead of her mouth. It was so subtle I almost convinced myself I imagined it. Almost 2 weeks after the dishwasher comment, I met Brooke for coffee again. We'd started talking regularly, little things at first, but it grew. She had this way of asking, "How are you?" That made me actually answer instead of saying, "Fine." That day she looked tired. The kind of tired that doesn't come from lack of sleep, but from years of being dismissed. "She said those things to you because she's always needed someone to be the boring one," Brooke told me softly. "Someone to compare herself to. Most of the time, that someone was me. You don't deserve that. Neither do you." It wasn't flirting. Not even close. It was two people trying to make sense of the mess Harper had created. But something in the air between us shifted that day. Dangerously, quietly, and I felt it even if I didn't want to. Then came the escalation. Harper started disappearing for entire evenings. No texts. No explanations. No apologies. When she finally came home, she'd act irritated that I asked anything at all. "Why are you tracking me?" she snapped once. "I'm allowed to have a life." I wasn't tracking her. I was trying to understand if we still had one. Her dad pulled me aside during a family dinner and said, "She's stressed. Weddings bring that out. Just be patient." As if patience could fix a person who no longer wanted to be fixed. Around this time, Brooke and I had our first real moment of emotional trouble. It was after a long conversation about Harper's behavior where Brooke suddenly went quiet. "What?" I asked. She shook her head, staring at the table. "Nothing. It's just, I wish she didn't always put us in these positions." The word hit harder than it should have. That night I went home and found Harper laughing on FaceTime with someone. Someone with a deeper voice than any of her friends. When she saw me, she froze, turned the camera off, and snapped the laptop shut like a kid caught watching something explicit. "Who was that?" I asked. "Jesus, Evan, you're exhausting," she said. "It was a coworker." "A coworker you shut your laptop on like it's contraband? Go to bed." She said it with a finality that told me she wasn't asking. The truth settled in slowly. I was holding onto the shell of a relationship that only existed in wedding plans and deposits. Not in reality. Brooke, meanwhile, became the only person I could talk to without feeling like a burden. But I didn't know yet. The situation was already worse than I realized. Because Harper's late nights weren't just late nights. And her comment about me and Brooke, it hadn't been a careless slip. It had been the first breadcrumb in a trail leading to something far uglier. I found out the truth on a random Wednesday I'll never forget. It started with a phone call from Harper's coworker, Liam, someone I'd only met once in passing at one of her company's barbecues. He sounded uncomfortable, almost shaky. "Hey, Evan, I don't really know how to say this, man, but I figured you should hear it from someone who isn't trying to screw you over." My stomach dropped instantly. "What's going on?" There was a long pause, then a low exhale. "It's about Harper." Of course it was. "She's been seeing someone from our office for a while." I didn't speak. Couldn't. My chest felt tight and hollow at the same time. Liam kept talking, like he needed to get it out before he lost his nerve. "I thought you guys were on a break or something because she told everyone you were emotionally unstable, that you were controlling and jealous, so you'd separated." That's what she said. "What?" I choked out. "Separated? We lived together. She said you were crashing on your brother's couch, that you wouldn't accept it was over." "I'm sorry, man. I really am." He went quiet again, but the damage was done. My fiancée, had told her entire office that we'd broken up, that I was unstable, that she was free to date her coworker, free to cheat. Suddenly the late nights, the cologne, the manic energy every time her phone buzzed. It all connected. Every single piece. I'd been sitting in a burning house convincing myself I smelled smoke from another neighborhood. "Who is he?" I finally asked. Another pause. Then, his name's Caleb. Caleb Rivera. Not just a coworker. Her manager. My pulse hammered in my ears. Everything inside me vibrated between rage and heartbreak. Liam wasn't done. She brought him to an office party 2 weeks ago, introduced him as her boyfriend, said you were in the middle of a messy separation. My throat closed. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago was the night she came home smelling like cologne, acting like I was an inconvenience. I managed to push out a few words. Why are you telling me this? He hesitated. Because she threw your name around again today. Told people you were losing it. That you might show up at the office causing drama. Drama. She said the quiet part out loud. She wasn't just cheating. She was setting me up. Painting me as unstable to justify whatever story she wanted to sell next. And the worst part was, she'd done it so casually, so confidently, like she'd always assumed she could get away with it. When I hung up, my hands were shaking so hard I dropped my phone. I sat in the living room for over an hour, staring at the wall, trying to process it all. The betrayal, the lies, the way she had rewritten our entire relationship behind my back as if I were some deranged ex she needed to escape from. And then the real twist came, the part that gutted me, because when I checked the date of that office party, I realized something else. That was the same week Brooke first texted me about meeting for dinner. The week she gently asked if I even wanted to get married. The week she'd told me she was starting to see Harper more clearly. Harper hadn't just been cheating on me. She'd been preparing to break off the engagement and blame everything on me. Gaslighting me, discrediting me, smearing me, so she could walk away clean and run off with her boss. And her comment about Brooke? That wasn't a joke. It wasn't thoughtless. It wasn't random. It was a preemptive strike. A way to discredit both of us before either of us realized what she was doing. Because Harper wasn't just selfish. She was strategic. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a minute. I lay on the couch staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the past year, and every piece of it rearranged itself into a darker, clearer picture. Harper hadn't just betrayed me. She'd been building a narrative. A breakup story. A poor me story. A story where she was the victim and I was the deranged, boring, emotionally unstable fiancé who couldn't accept the truth. She was planning to leave me for Caleb, and she wanted the world to clap for her while she did it. I wasn't about to let that happen. But revenge wasn't the first thing on my mind. It was survival, protecting myself, making sure I didn't get steamrolled under the version of events Harper was already spreading. The first step was simple. Tell Brooke. I texted her at 7 a.m. Need to talk. It's bad. She responded instantly. Come over. When I got to her apartment, she opened the door with this worried look that twisted something inside me. I told her everything. Liam's call, the lies Harper spread, the fake breakup story, the fact she'd introduced Caleb as her boyfriend. I expected Brooke to cry, or panic, or defend her sister. Instead, she just sat down slowly on her couch and whispered, "Of course she did." Not surprised, not shocked, just resigned. Like she'd been waiting for her sister to cross a line this big. What do you mean? I asked. She rubbed her hands together, pulling at the sleeves of her sweater. She's done this before, Brooke said quietly. Not cheating, not this level, but rewriting things, making herself the victim when she's the one who started the fire. She did it with friends, with boyfriends, with me. Our parents always took her side because she cried louder. I sat beside her. I didn't know it was this bad. That's the whole point, she said. She only shows that side when she thinks no one's watching. That was the moment something shifted between us. Not romantic, not yet, but an understanding. A shared wound from the same person. Brooke looked at me with this firmness I hadn't seen before. You need to protect yourself, Evan. She's gonna twist everything. She already has. I know, I said. That's why I need a plan. We sat there, talking through possibilities. Not revenge yet, just protection. Step 1, documentation. I gathered everything. Screenshots of texts, photos of the cracked mug she'd thrown, records of deposit payments I'd made on the wedding. Proof she'd been lying to vendors. Step 2. Financial separation. I called the bank, froze the joint credit card we only ever used for wedding expenses. Harper loved to spend. Cutting her access would hit instantly. Step 3. Lease clarity. I reviewed our apartment contract. It was clear. If one tenant vacated, the other became financially responsible unless both signed off. Harper wouldn't like that. Step 4. Emotional boundaries. No more trying to fix things. No more excuses. I was done being the quiet, boring fiancé she counted on to stay silent. And then came step 5, the one Brooke hesitated about but ultimately supported. I needed to confront Harper before she confronted me. Face to face. No warning. Before she could twist the story any further. Not to yell. Not to fight. Just to end it. Officially. Unequivocally. Harper had been writing a script where she left me broken and pathetic. I was going to flip her entire narrative in one conversation. Brooke looked at me with cautious worry. This might go bad, Evan. It will, I said. But I'm not giving her the chance to blindside me. I waited until Saturday morning. The one day Harper was always home late sleeping off whatever nightlife adventure she'd conjured up. I made coffee, sat at the table, waited. At 10:43 a.m., she walked into the kitchen wearing Caleb's hoodie, not even trying to hide it. That was when I knew. Ending it wasn't revenge. It was step 1. Revenge would come after. When Harper walked into the kitchen wearing Caleb's hoodie, something in me finally settled. Not rage, not heartbreak, just a clean, sharp certainty. I was done. But before I could even open my mouth, Harper beat me to it. Evan, we need to talk, she said, rubbing her eyes like she was the exhausted one. This isn't working. You've been distant, cold. Honestly, I think we need space. She actually tried to dump me, after cheating on me, lying about me, mocking me, rewriting our entire relationship like it was a press release she could edit whenever she wanted. I laughed once, short, humorless. We're not taking space, I said. We're breaking up. I'm calling off the wedding. She froze. That wasn't her script. She was supposed to be the martyr. I was supposed to be the clingy one begging her to stay. What? No, she said, blinking fast. No, I'm ending it. You don't get to. Harper, it's done, I said. We're over. And right there, right in that quiet kitchen, the real Harper snapped through her mask. Her face twisted. You don't get to leave me, she hissed. Do you hear me? You don't get to walk away from me. I didn't flinch. I just did. She went silent for a beat, chest heaving. Then she pointed at me. You're cheating on me with Brooke, aren't you? No, I said. You cheated first. Her mouth dropped open. Excuse me? You told your office we were separated. You introduced Caleb as your boyfriend. People saw it. They told me. Her eyes flashed with something cold. Fear, maybe, but she covered it fast. Everyone lies at work, she snapped. People exaggerate. It's not cheating if the relationship was already dead. It wasn't dead until you killed it. And then came the twist, one I had never anticipated. Harper stepped back, crossed her arms, and smirked. Fine, she said. If you want to ruin your life, go ahead. But you should know something before you get all righteous and walk out. She waited, dragging out the moment like she was savoring it. What? I said. Her smile widened, slow, poisonous. Caleb and I are already moving in together. My jaw tightened. Okay. You don't get it, she said. He promised to promote me, regional project lead. I was supposed to get the position next quarter. I felt my stomach twist. Promote you? Harper. He's your supervisor. She didn't blink. It's not illegal. It's strategic. That word again. Strategic. She kept talking. Faster now. Hands trembling with some twisted excitement. No one else was going to give me that job. You don't get it, Evan. You never did. I had to make myself look sympathetic. Overworked. Unsupported. Trapped in a relationship with a guy who held me back. That's how companies work. That's how promotions work. My blood went cold. You sabotaged our relationship, I said slowly. To get a promotion. She tilted her head, and for the first time I saw it. The depth of her selfishness. The calculus behind her actions. The absolute lack of remorse. It wasn't sabotage, she said. It was planning. I stared at her, horrified. She'd emotionally abused me, gaslit me, lied to friends, coworkers, her own family, cheated, manipulated, destroyed a 4-year relationship, for a job title, for corporate clout, for something she thought made her important, and she wasn't done. Besides, she added casually, you weren't supposed to find out like this. I had a narrative. You were going to be the unstable ex. I even told Caleb I might file a restraining order if you made things messy. My heart stopped. She'd planned to legally frame me, destroy my reputation, destroy my future. I wasn't dealing with a selfish person. I was dealing with someone who saw other people as tools or obstacles. Harper, I whispered. You're sick. She shrugged. I'm ambitious. Then she leaned in with a venomous little smile. And Evan, when I'm successful and you're still boring, you're going to wish you'd kept your mouth shut. That was the moment I knew revenge wasn't just justified. It was necessary. People like to believe villains have complicated reasons for doing terrible things. Childhood trauma, emotional wounds, something tragic that made them cruel. Harper didn't have any of that. Her reason was so simple, so cold, so horrifying that it still makes me sick when I think about it. After she dropped the bomb about Caleb and the promotion, I stood in the kitchen trying to wrap my head around the fact that the woman I almost married had destroyed our relationship for corporate leverage. But she wasn't finished. Harper sat down at the kitchen table, crossed her legs, and gave me this look, like I was a student she was about to lecture. Do you want to know the real reason I chose Caleb? She asked. Because it wasn't just the job. I'm not sure I want to know, I said. She ignored that. It's because he's useful. Useful. That word hit me like a slap. Useful how? I asked. She leaned back in her chair, completely relaxed, as if discussing something mundane. Because he listens to me. Because he thinks I'm brilliant. Because he worships me honestly. The guy practically melts when I smile at him. Do you know how far that kind of power goes in a workplace? In life. I felt something cold spread through my chest. Harper, you can't build a relationship on power. She smirked. You can if you know how to keep it. Then she said the line that explained everything. Every lie, every manipulation, every cruel comment she ever made to me or Brooke. You were too equal, she said. That was the problem. I blinked. What? You treated me like a partner, like we were on the same level. I couldn't work with that. I need someone who looks up to me, someone who depends on me, someone I can shape. I felt my throat tighten. Shape, I repeated quietly. Oh, don't act shocked, she snapped. You were the perfect stability project. Calm, steady, predictable. But you didn't need me. And someone like me? I can't be with a man who doesn't need me to feel important. It was like discovering the monster in the movie has been standing behind you the whole time. She kept going. With you, everything was flat, level, boring. You didn't get jealous. You didn't get dramatic. You didn't chase. You didn't break. I couldn't gain anything from that. You wanted me to break? I asked, stunned. She shrugged. Emotional extremes make people interesting. They make them easier to direct. Caleb's already obsessed with me. That makes him useful. You. She gestured around the apartment like it was obvious. You were done. Stagnant. I couldn't build anything off of you. I stared at her, horrified. So you destroyed me because I didn't admire you enough? No, she said, leaning forward with a wolf-like grin. I destroyed you because you didn't admire me loudly, because you didn't need me to function, because you didn't put me at the center of your world. She tapped her temple. People like me? We don't survive unless we're the most important thing in someone's life. And you never gave me that. So I found someone who would. There it was. The real reason. Not insecurity. Not hurt. Not trauma. Control. Power. Worship. Tension. She needed an orbit. She needed a sun. She needed to be the gravitational center of someone's existence, even if she had to lie, cheat, manipulate, and emotionally obliterate them to get it. You loved the idea of being adored more than you ever loved me, I said quietly. She smiled. Exactly. That was the moment all sympathy I'd ever had for her died. She wasn't broken. She wasn't hurting. She wasn't misguided. She was exactly who she wanted to be, and she always had been. The moment Harper admitted she needed a man to worship her, a man she could mold, manipulate, and eventually discard, I felt something snap cleanly inside me. Not rage, not heartbreak, just release. Like I'd been holding my breath for 4 years and finally exhaled. I stood up from the table, finished my coffee, and said the calmest sentence of my entire life. Okay, then let's end this properly. She blinked. Properly? Evan, don't make this dramatic. No, I'm making it final. And for the first time since I'd known her, Harper looked genuinely afraid. Not because she'd lose me, but because she felt the control slipping. That was the beginning of my revenge. Not the loud kind, not the petty kind, the tactical kind, the kind that hits every place she never expected. Every place it actually hurts. I called every wedding vendor personally, told them the engagement was over, sent them the documentation I'd gathered, her texts, her affair timeline, her admission on video. Yes, I recorded it. Half of the vendors refunded me out of sheer sympathy. The others charged cancellation fees. Cost me money, but it cost her something worse, her narrative. Because when the venue called her demanding confirmation, she panicked. She called me 37 times within 2 hours. I answered none. She left voicemails crying so hard she hiccuped, begging me not to ruin everything. Everything she cared about wasn't our relationship. It was the image of being a bride. I shattered it. Remember Caleb? Her morally bankrupt boss-turned-boyfriend? Yeah. Corporate fraternization rules aren't as blurry as Harper liked to believe. Using all the receipts I'd gathered, Liam's statement, screenshots of Harper's texts about using Caleb for a promotion, and timestamps of their affair overlapping with performance reviews, I filed an anonymous HR complaint. Brooke helped me fine-tune the language so it would actually stick. Within a week, Caleb was demoted pending investigation. Harper was put on probation for creating a hostile work environment and role boundary violations. Her promotion? Gone. Her reputation? Nuclear. She stormed into my sublet one night screaming that I'd ruined her career. She didn't know how. She just knew I had. Security escorted her out. I watched from the window sipping tea. Harper thought she'd turn everyone against us. But when Brooke finally unloaded 20 years of grievances, every cruel comment, every stolen milestone, every dig that Harper had passed off as a joke, the Daltons cracked. Her father called me privately, voice low and ashamed. We failed Brooke, he admitted. We let Harper run over her. They weren't perfect, but it was the first time someone in her family saw her clearly. Harper, meanwhile, got kicked out after a screaming match with her mom, so loud the neighbors called the cops. She begged Brooke to talk to her. Brooke blocked her. Cold, clean, final. Brooke and I didn't rush anything. No whirlwind romance. No rebound madness. Just slow, honest steps. 5 months after the breakup, we moved into a quiet apartment in Durham with a balcony big enough for her plants and enough shelves for both our book collections. She laughs more now. I sleep better. Sometimes we sit on that balcony at sunset, legs touching, reading quietly. It's boring in the best, softest way. Harper resurfaced once more. One last text from a new number. Hope you're happy with my leftovers. I didn't even block it. I just deleted it and kept eating dinner with Brooke, who smiled at me like she knew exactly what I'd done for both of us. Because in the end, the best revenge wasn't the HR complaint, or the canceled wedding, or the way her family finally saw her clearly. The best revenge was this: her entire world fell apart and mine finally began. I guess sometimes boring people make the strongest endings. And Harper? She can keep her chaos. I'm finally done living in it.